Prepare to journey into the heart of one of the most significant and dramatic moments in American history, the Battle of Gettysburg. This pivotal clash not only shaped the destiny of the United States, but also unveiled dark, hidden layers of strategic choices, courage, and loss. Imagine standing amidst the chaos, with General Robert E. Lee himself directing Confederate forces, pushing forward in what seemed to be a desperate gamble for victory. In this gripping narrative, a letter from Lee reveals the immense pressures faced by the Confederate Army, exposing the tragic consequences of leadership decisions made on the battlefield. As this bloody encounter unfolds, you'll be drawn into a tale filled with harrowing bravery, immense loss, and the relentless pursuit of triumph against all odds. In early July 1863, the fields of Pennsylvania became the stage for a monumental showdown. As Lee's Army of Northern Virginia moved into the North, they clashed with Union forces led by General George Meade. It was not merely a battle over land, but a battle over ideology and the fate of a divided nation. The opening shots rang out on July 1st, with Confederate troops advancing under the command of General Hill's corps toward the small town of Gettysburg. Orders were clear: to secure strategic positions and push forward, unaware that Union forces were rapidly closing in. The initial engagements were fierce, with Pettigrew's brigade encountering strong resistance, signaling that the Union forces were prepared for a brutal fight. As dawn broke, Hill's troops pressed onward, breaking through the initial lines but meeting with increasing resistance as the Union forces surged into defensive positions. The battle's intensity escalated rapidly. By the afternoon of July 1st, the Confederate forces, under the relentless assault led by General Ewell, managed to push the Union troops through the town, capturing over 5,000 prisoners. Major General Reynolds of the Union forces was among the notable casualties, marking a significant blow to the Union command. But the Confederates soon faced a critical challenge. The Union forces regrouped and occupied strong defensive positions on the high ground south of Gettysburg, including the formidable Cemetery Hill. As darkness fell, Ewell received orders to seize these heights if feasible, but was cautioned against engaging in a full-scale assault until reinforcements, including Longstreet's divisions, could arrive. The situation grew increasingly complex as night settled over Gettysburg. Ewell hesitated, knowing that the enemy's strength was unknown and that the risk of a night assault could lead to disaster. Meanwhile, intercepted communications indicated that additional Union corps were just miles away, preparing to reinforce their already strong positions. Confederate leaders grappled with a daunting dilemma: whether to attack with limited forces or await Longstreet's divisions, which were still several miles away. This delay, driven by the darkness and uncertainty, allowed the Union forces to strengthen their positions on the ridges, further complicating Confederate plans. As dawn approached on July 2nd, Longstreet's divisions finally arrived, ready for action. The Confederate plan aimed at striking the Union's left flank, with Hood's and McLaws' divisions tasked with breaking through the Union defenses near Little Round Top and Devil's Den, crucial high ground that provided a tactical advantage. The attack was fierce and relentless, as waves of Confederate soldiers charged uphill, facing intense resistance from Union troops who were well-positioned behind natural rock formations. Despite their valiant efforts, the Confederate assault struggled to gain ground, leading to heavy casualties. The Union troops, led by determined officers, held their positions stubbornly, turning the slopes into a blood-soaked battlefield. Meanwhile, on the opposite flank, Ewell's forces launched an aggressive assault on Cemetery Hill and Culp's Hill. Here, too, the fighting was brutal and unyielding. Confederate soldiers clashed with entrenched Union troops, facing barrages of artillery and relentless rifle fire. Despite some initial success, the Confederates found themselves repelled by fierce Union counterattacks. As night fell once again, the Confederates realized that they had failed to dislodge the Union defenders from the vital high ground. The morning of July 3rd brought new plans and new hopes for a decisive breakthrough. General Lee, determined to achieve victory, ordered a bold and direct assault on the center of the Union line, a move that would become known as Pickett's Charge. Lee believed that breaking through the Union Center would cause a collapse in morale, leading to Confederate success. With confidence, General Pickett's division was chosen to lead this daring assault. Around 12,000 Confederate soldiers prepared for what was to be one of the most infamous charges in military history. As the noon sun blazed over the fields, Confederate artillery opened a massive bombardment, attempting to weaken the Union center. The bombardment was intense, with shells bursting over the heads of Union soldiers, creating deafening noise and a thick cloud of smoke. After nearly 2 hours, the signal was given, and Pickett's men began their march across open fields toward the Union lines. The scene was both awe-inspiring and tragic, as waves of Confederate soldiers advanced under heavy fire from Union artillery and infantry. The Union response was devastating. Cannons roared, unleashing canister shot and grape shot upon the advancing Confederates, tearing gaps into their ranks. Despite the overwhelming odds, Pickett's men continued forward, driven by a desperate determination to break the Union line. As they reached the infamous stone wall, hand-to-hand combat ensued. For a brief, brutal moment, it seemed as though the Confederate soldiers might succeed. But the Union reinforcements arrived in time, sealing the breach and repelling the attack with severe losses. Pickett's charge ended in disaster for the Confederates, with thousands of casualties marking the failure of Lee's final attempt to seize victory at Gettysburg. The once confident Army of Northern Virginia found itself retreating, battered and demoralized. The Confederate retreat began under the cover of darkness, as Lee's forces made their way back toward Virginia. The hopes of a decisive victory in Northern Territory were shattered, replaced by the grim reality of a drawn-out conflict with an uncertain end. The Battle of Gettysburg was not just a tactical failure for the Confederacy. It was a turning point that signaled a shift in momentum toward the Union. Lee's bold strategy had been met with fierce resistance, and the cost in lives was staggering. Over 50,000 soldiers were killed, wounded, or missing by the end of the 3-day conflict, making Gettysburg the bloodiest battle of the Civil War. The battlefield itself became a somber testament to the bravery and sacrifice of those who fought there, with its rolling hills marked by the graves of fallen soldiers. The legacy of Gettysburg, however, extends beyond the immediate outcome of the battle. It represented a crucial moment in the struggle for the Union, with President Abraham Lincoln later delivering the Gettysburg Address, a speech that would redefine the purpose of the war and the meaning of the American nation. In this sense, the Battle of Gettysburg was more than a military clash. It was a battle for the very soul of a nation, fought with unwavering resolve and marked by both tragedy and hope. And so, as we reflect on this historic battle, we uncover not only the strategies and decisions that shaped its outcome, but also the profound impact it had on the course of American history. The courage displayed on both sides, the tragic losses, and the enduring legacy of the battle serve as a reminder of the cost of division and the power of unity in the face of immense adversity. Stay tuned as we continue to explore the untold stories and hidden narratives of history, stories that define who we are today. If you find this journey into the past compelling, don't forget to like, subscribe, and support our channel. Your engagement helps keep history alive and inspires deeper understanding of our shared past. The Union forces had formed a dense line along the high ground near Gettysburg Road, fortified by a steep ridge that provided a natural defensive advantage. This ridge, difficult to climb, was secured by the Union troops, particularly on the northern end where 2 formidable hills were located, as well as a 3rd hill anchoring their left flank at the southern end. Numerous stone and rail fences lined the slopes, offering cover to the Union soldiers while also obstructing the Confederate advance. In front of the Confederate positions lay open and uneven ground that stretched nearly 3/4 of a mile, a daunting distance to cover under fire. General Ewell's corps, positioned on the Confederate left, faced westward towards Cemetery Hill. Johnston's division was arrayed against the prominent High German Cemetery Hill, with Early's division at the center, positioned opposite the hill's northern face, and Rhodes' division on the right. Ewell's forces formed a near-parallel line to Emmitsburg Road, creating an angle with Ewell's line. Pender's division extended from Ewell's left, followed by Anderson's division on his right. Meanwhile, Haight's division, under Brigadier General Pettigrew, remained in reserve, with artillery under Colonel Walker strategically positioned along the line. The Confederates planned a decisive strike on the Union's left, intending to secure a position from which their artillery could effectively bombard Union forces. Longstreet was directed to position McLaws and Hood's divisions on the right of the hill, aiming to overwhelm the Union left. General Hill was ordered to threaten the Union center, preventing reinforcements from bolstering either flank, while coordinating with Longstreet's assault on the right. Ewell was instructed to make a simultaneous show of force against the Union right, turning it into a full assault if an opportunity presented itself. By 4 p.m., Longstreet's artillery opened fire, marking the start of the Confederate assault. Hood's division, on the far right, advanced first, followed by McLaws, who aligned Anderson's brigades, Wilcox, Perry, Wright, and Posey, to support him on the left. The initial Confederate push forced Union forces back from Emmitsburg Road, driving them into a ravine and behind stone fences at the base of the ridge. Despite fierce resistance, Confederate forces dislodged the Union troops from their defensive positions and pushed them up the ridge, capturing several artillery pieces in the process. Wilcox and Wright's brigades continued their aggressive advance, breaking through successive Union lines and capturing more artillery. Wilcox reached the base of the ridge, while Wright's brigade gained the crest, driving Union troops down the opposite side. However, as they pressed forward, they became separated from McLaws' forces and Anderson's brigades, leaving them exposed. Union forces quickly counterattacked from the front and flanks, forcing Wilcox and Wright to retreat without securing the captured artillery. As darkness fell, Longstreet decided to consolidate his forces, holding the gained ground on the right while withdrawing his left to its original position. During this intense engagement, the Confederates captured 4 artillery pieces, several hundred prisoners, and 2 regimental flags. As Longstreet's attack unfolded on the right, General Johnson opened fire on Cemetery Hill, advancing with 3 brigades while holding a 4th in reserve. General Early simultaneously attacked Cemetery Hill with 2 brigades, supported by a 3rd, while the 4th was held back. The Union had reinforced their position significantly, making Johnson's and Early's assaults challenging. Johnson's troops pushed up the steep slope under heavy fire, managing to capture some enemy entrenchments and take prisoners. Parts of Stewart's brigade broke through, seizing a section of the Union works. Despite these successes, the struggle continued into the night without further gains. Early's brigades, led by Hayes and Hoke under Colonel Avery, launched vigorous assaults, dislodging Union infantry from behind fences and pushing them back to the crest of Cemetery Hill. They captured several artillery pieces, but a heavy counterattack on their unsupported right flank forced them to retreat, taking 100 prisoners and 4 captured flags with them. General Ewell had ordered Rhodes to coordinate with Early's assault, covering his right flank. He also requested Brigadier General Lane, commanding Pender's division, to support Rhodes on the right. However, Rhodes' troops were not ready when Early attacked, leading to a lack of support that forced Early to withdraw. Lane, though prepared to assist, informed Rhodes that advancing after Early's retreat would be futile. Confederate losses were significant, with Major General Rhodes, Brigadier Generals Jones, Semmes, G.T. Anderson, Barksdale, and Colonel Avery of Hoke's brigades suffering wounds, many of which were mortal. Semmes and Rhodes later succumbed to their injuries after returning to Virginia. The outcome of the day's operation suggested that with better coordination and more reinforcements, the Confederate position on the right could have facilitated a successful artillery assault in columns. Consequently, it was decided to continue the attack the following day. Longstreet, reinforced by Pickett's 3 brigades that had arrived near the battlefield on the afternoon of July 2nd, was ordered to renew the attack on July 3rd. Ewell was instructed to simultaneously assault the Union right. During the night, additional reinforcements from Rhodes' division and 1 brigade from Early's division were sent to support Johnson. However, Longstreet's preparations were delayed, and before Ewell could be informed of the delay, Johnson had already re-engaged the Union forces. Johnson's troops repelled a Union attempt to retake the captured entrenchments, But despite a brave struggle, they could not secure the well-fortified crest of the hill. Without an attack on the Union left, to divert pressure, the Union was able to concentrate its forces against Johnson, threatening his flank and rear. This forced him to withdraw to his original position around 1 p.m. Longstreet. Meanwhile, faced delays due to a Union force occupying rocky hills on the far left, posing a threat of a flank attack on his advancing troops. The same obstacles had hindered Longstreet's operations on July 2nd, leading him to deploy Hood's and McLaws divisions to defend his flank and rear. Heath's division reinforced the Confederate front, along with 2 brigades from Pender's command under Major General Trimble's leadership. General Hill was ordered to maintain his line, support Longstreet if needed, and seize any opportunities for a breakthrough. After Longstreet secured ground, thorough reconnaissance was conducted, positioning batteries capable of silencing Union guns. Hill's artillery, combined with other batteries, was to launch a simultaneous barrage, providing cover for the advancing infantry. As infantry moved forward, artillery would advance in tandem, protecting their flanks and bolstering their attacks. Around noon, a heavy cannonade erupted, lasting nearly 2 hours, significantly disrupting the Union forces. Initially, Union batteries responded vigorously, but their fire waned over time. Longstreet organized 4 assault columns, Pickett's and Heath's. Divisions formed 2 lines with Pickett on the right. Wilcox's brigade supported Pickett's right flank, while Heath was reinforced by Lane's and Scales' brigades under Trimble. The Confederate forces advanced steadily, enduring intense musket and artillery fire, aiming for the Union left center. As they approached, Union batteries resumed fire, but Confederate artillery, exhausted after the prolonged barrage, could no longer provide effective support. This lack of artillery cover, unknown to General Lee at the time, allowed Union forces to concentrate heavy infantry fire on the Confederate left, which was already weakened by artillery from Cemetery Hill. Despite this, the Confederate right managed to break through Union lines, capturing some artillery pieces and penetrating the advance works. However, they were soon attacked from the front and flanks, forcing a retreat. Confederate troops were rallied and reformed after this setback, but the Union did not pursue aggressively. The cost was high. Brave officers and soldiers were either killed, wounded, or captured. Generals Armistead and Garnett were killed, while General Kemper was gravely wounded. Major General Trimble and Brigadier General Pettigrew were also wounded, with Trimble suffering severe injuries. The Confederate march toward Gettysburg had been severely hindered by the lack of cavalry support. Upon learning that Union forces had crossed into Maryland, orders were sent for brigades Robertson and Jones, who had been guarding Blue Ridge passes, to rejoin the main army. It was expected that General Stuart would soon bring additional cavalry. Exercising discretion during Longstreet's and Hill's march into Maryland, Stuart positioned himself on the Confederate right flank to provide intelligence on Union movements. Departing from Salem on June 24th, Stuart intended to pass west of Centerville, but found the route blocked by Union forces. He made a wide detour through Buckland and Brentsville, crossing the Occoquan at Wolf Run Shoals on June 27th. Stuart continued through Fairfax Courthouse and Drainesville, reaching the Potomac River below Seneca Creek by nightfall. Despite swollen waters from recent rains, he managed to cross with his entire command by midnight, ascending towards the Federal Army, which had drawn closer to the river. Officers and staff of the Army of Northern Virginia worked tirelessly during these operations. Quartermasters, commissaries, and medical departments faced immense pressure, ensuring troop readiness and sustenance during marches in camp. Inspecting generals monitored troop conditions, while engineers facilitated crossings over swollen rivers and streams. The Chief of Ordnance, along with his team, maintained a steady supply of ammunition throughout the campaign, despite challenging conditions. General Lee expressed deep gratitude to his personal staff, whose dedication ensured operational efficiency and order. The Battle of Gettysburg resulted in nearly 7,000 captured Union soldiers, with 1,500 paroled and the remainder sent back to Virginia. 7 artillery pieces were also secured. General Lee's letter, forwarded with detailed reports from Corps, Division, and brigade commanders, included maps of the battlefields and routes taken by Confederate forces, providing insights into the campaign's movements and engagements. In closing, Lee acknowledged the complex and dark narrative of Gettysburg, highlighting the bravery, strategic decisions, and tragic toll on both sides. The battle's legacy left an indelible mark on the Civil War and on American history, prompting reflection on the true motivations behind the decisions made and how these events shaped the nation's future. As we conclude this deep dive into General Robert E. Lee's account of Gettysburg, we are confronted with a profound understanding of the complexities of war. Beneath the surface lies a web of untold stories and hidden truths that continue to challenge our interpretations of history. What were the driving forces behind the strategic choices made on that field? How did these decisions alter the course of the Civil War and ultimately the fate of a nation divided? The answers to these questions are not simple, but the lessons learned resonate deeply. The legacy of Gettysburg extends beyond tactics. It represents the struggle for the nation's identity, marked by both heroism and heartbreak. We invite you to continue this journey into the shadows of history with us. As we explore more untold stories of this pivotal moment, remember that the past is not just a collection of events, but a source of lessons and insights that shape the present. Stay tuned as we delve further into the intricacies of history, uncovering the layers that define who we are today. This narrative is far from complete, and there is much more to explore. Join us as we uncover the deeper meanings of Gettysburg and its lasting impact. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and engage with us as we bring history to life, one story at a time.